first.
女士们、先生们，大家上午好。
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
非常感谢新闻媒体长期以
I
来
want to first thank
对
you
科技公安工作的
for
关注和支
following
持。
and supporting our
新冠
scientific
肺炎疫
research.
情发生以来，整个科技
Since
界
the start of the
认真
COVID-19
贯彻落实
outbreak,
习近平总书记
the science
等
community
中央
in
领导
China has
关注
earnestly implemented
加大
General
科研公
Secretary
关
Xi
力度的
Jinping
重要
and
指
other
示
leaders'
批示精
instructions
神，
on stepping
急
up
人民之所
scientific
急，
research.
取得了
We
积极
have
的进
focused
步。
on tackling the priority
一
concerns
是
of the people
明确
and
做
made
什
good
么，
progress.
按照
First, we
可
established
治可
these
防的目
research
标要求，
areas for the
面对
purpose of
流行
curing
防
and
控的迫
preventing
切
the
需要，
disease and in light
确
of the
定了
urgent needs
病
in the
人学
response
和流行
efforts.
病学、
We have
检测技术
identified
和
5
处理、
main areas of
药物
research,
和临床
namely
救治、
etiology and
疫苗研发、动物模
epidemiology,
型构建
testing
等
techniques and
5大
products,
主攻方向。
medicine and clinical therapeutics,
二是明确
vaccine
谁来做，
R&D, and animal
聚
modeling.
焦主体任务，发挥
Second,
中国科学院
we
真实
established
科
the
学
research
院
bodies. The
中国
Chinese
医学
Academy
科
of
学院、中
Sciences,
国疾
the
控中
Academy
心
of Military
等
Sciences
主
of the
体研
PLA,
究
the
领导的
Chinese
作用。
Academy of Medical
广泛动
Sciences,
员
and China
全国
Center
高校
for
院
Disease
所和
Control
企
are
业参
taking the
与，
lead.
与一线医
Universities
疗
and
机构
enterprises
紧密
across
互
the
动，
country are
组织精
mobilized
锐力量，
to
全国科研
participate
共
and
同
work closely with
全
frontline
力
medical
推进
facilities,
科技攻关。
forming special research
三是
groups
明
to
确
seek breakthroughs in
怎么做。
science. Third, we established the research
在中
principles.
央领导小组和国务院联防联控体系
Under
的统筹下，
the coordination of the Central Leading
靠前
Group
指挥，
and
明确要求
the
要
Interagency
以结
Task
果为导
Force
向，实
and
战
the
医治
leadership
为
of
发
Vice
展，
Premier Liu
坚
He,
持科研与临
researchers
床救治
are aiming
与
at
防控
producing
实
real
践成
results
果，
that are
按
useful
照
on the
战术
ground.
管理，设立联邦跨
Research
国责任导
institutions
人，争分夺
are
秒，
basing
显著推进
are managing the
优先
progress
级
in
预
wartime mode, setting up
主体
special
任务体
teams,
制，
hanging up
部门协
roadmaps,
同，
and specify
严审联
responsibilities
动，
for
彻
each
实配合，
individual and
合法
working
合
full
规，
steam
加
on
强
drug
服务，
selection and
主
vaccine
动对接
development.
和协调解决
Government
一线
departments are
的实际
providing
问题。
coordination and facilitation
做
to
到了
fast
一步，
track research while ensuring
面临重
compliance
大的
and
新挑
promptly
战，利
identifying
用
and
广
resolving
大
the
科技
problems
工作者
facing
的无私
frontline
贡献，
researchers.
以我国以
Fourth,
往的
on the
科技
progress
经
of the
历
research.
和各个部门的
Thanks
合
to the
作成果，
selfless
科技
contribution
公
of
关
our
工作取得
scientists,
了
our
积极
past
的进
scientific
展。
experience, and the concerted
在
efforts of
病
all
人学
parties,
和流行
we
病
have
学
already
方
seen
面，
good
第一时
progress
间
in medical
分离鉴定
research.
出病毒
On
株，并
etiology
向世
and
界卫生组织
epidemiology,
分
we
享了
promptly
病毒的
isolated and
前基因组
identified the
序列，
virus strain
为诊
and
断技
shared
术
its
的快
complete
速推进
genome sequence
和
with
有物料
WHO,
开发
paving
的
the
推进，
foundation for the
实施
diagnostic
深化
solutions
病毒
and the
传播
development of
途径的
drugs and
研究，
vaccines.
为防控策略
Studies on the
规划
virus's
提供
transmission
了科
routes
技支撑。
continue as an ongoing
在药物
support
和临
for
床救
better
治方面，
response
加快
strategies.
推进上游三方案的研
Research
究，
on the 3 types
准
of
医药在
drugs and
阻断
therapies
新
is
型患
gaining
者
speed,
向重
as
型患者
traditional
发展
Chinese
方
medicine
面
has
取
led
得
good
了积
results
极
in
的
terms
成
of
效。
preventing mild cases
中西医结
from
合治疗
becoming
方案
severe.
纳入了
The
第三
combined
版
use of Chinese
新
and
型
Western medicine was introduced
新冠肺炎
in
诊疗
the
方案，
third version of
研究率
treatment
可以
protocol.
任如轻型普通型
Chloroquine
患者的抗
Phosphate
癌的治疗，纳
as
入
an
了第六版
antiviral
的
drug for
诊疗
mild and
方案。
regular cases
针
was
对重
introduced
型
in the
患者治
sixth
疗采
version
用的
of
恢
the
复剂血糖治
protocol.
疗，纳入了
Convalescent
第五版
plasma
的诊
therapy
疗
for
方案。
severe cases was
在疫
introduced
苗研发
in the
方面，
fifth version.
多路线部署并行推进研发。
Research on
预计
vaccines
最
is
快的
being
疫苗
advanced under
将于
multiple
4月下
roadmaps
旬
simultaneously.
左右申报
The
临
earliest
床试验。
possible vaccine
就
could be
目前而
ready for
言，
clinical
我国
trial
各
in
类
late
技术路
April.
线的疫苗研制
So far,
都基
under
本
all
已经
technology
过关。
roadmaps, Chinese
在
vaccine
检测试
projects
剂
are
研发
basically
方面，在
progressing
流
in
行指
sync
数
with
限
those
制
of
推
other
进完
countries.
成核酸试剂
On testing
试剂
reagents,
核酸试剂产品的品牌
nucleic
的技术
acid testing
加快
kits
推
were
进
swiftly
连病
developed
毒
in the
高
early
操作
stage of the
便捷的
outbreak.
快速检
On
测
that
产品
basis,
开发。
research is now
在
focusing
动物模
on
型方
rapid
面，
testing
完成了
kits that are
小
more
鱼猴
sensitive and
感染
easier to
新冠病
use.
毒的动物模型的
On
构
animal
建，
modeling,
为
mouse and
药物
monkey
的筛
models
选
of
和疫苗的
COVID-19
研
have
发，
been
以及
established
病
and
毒
can
传播
support
机制
drug
的研究
selection,
进
vaccine
行了科技
development,
支撑。
and transmission
自
research.
1月20号组建
Since
科技公安
research
组以
started
来，
on the
已经过
20th
去
of
了1个月
January,
时间。
it has now
1个月
been
的
a month.
科学研究
1
工作
month is fairly
非常
short
短暂
for
的，
science.
但是
but very long for patients struggling with the disease. The science community will always put the life and health of the people front and center. We will make all-out efforts to quicken research and produce effective and useful results for the sake of our country and people. Thank you. The floor is now open. With CCTV, is there a trend of easing for newly confirmed cases? Have we seen a pivot in the epidemic? And from the latest statistics issued by the National Health Commission, the trend has been dropping outside Hubei. Is the overall situation getting better? Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. Since the outbreak of the epidemic, the CPC Central Committee and State Council attached great importance to it. General Secretary Xi Jinping made personal deployment on relevant work, and healthcare workers across the nation have fought hard against the disease. As you mentioned, the epidemic control has seen significant achievements, and the situation is trending towards the better. Now I can share with you 6 groups of numbers. 4 drops, 1 increase, and 0 report from some provinces. So this is a more direct information for you. First drop is the overall number of new confirmed cases. Nationwide daily new confirmed cases fell from the peak of 15,152 cases on the 12th to yesterday's less than 900. The second drop is that the whole country outside Hubei saw new confirmed cases dropping from 890 from the 12th to less than 300 to yesterday's number. And the third drop is that in Hubei province, excluding Wuhan, the daily new confirmed cases dropped from the 1,404 cases on the 12th to less than 400 to yesterday. And the fourth drop is that Wuhan's daily new confirmed cases dropped from 3,910 on the 12th to less than 400 yesterday. Those are the 4 drops. There's one increase, is that starting from the 18th of February, new cured cases increased rapidly. We can see this upward curve. And it has outnumbered new confirmed cases for 3 consecutive days, which means the red line is now trending higher than the blue line. On the 20th of this month, the difference is 1,220 cases. So the cured cases have all outnumbered or equaled the new confirmed cases in all provinces in China. And there are also 0 reports in some provinces. And the number of such provinces has been increasing. Starting from the 30th of January in Tibet to yesterday, we have 14 provinces, including Liaoning and Inner Mongolia, as well as Xinjiang, which saw 0 reports. And Qinghai has reported 0 cases for 15 days. In Liaoning, Guizhou, Gansu, and Xinjiang have reported 0 cases for 4 consecutive days. Xinjiang Production and Development Corps has reported 0 cases for 3 days. So the 4 drops, 1 increase, and 0 report are the information that I hope to share with you. I also want to add that the stock of suspected cases is being transformed. In non-Hubei provinces, this number has dropped from 2,211 on the 12th to over 300 yesterday. And the number of medical observation cases has also dropped from 190,000 to 120,000 yesterday, on the 19th. From these numbers, we can see that the overall situation is trending towards the better, and the outbreak is under control, and there are also zero increase in some provinces. But still, in Hubei and Wuhan, the newly reported death cases are still at a high level. We need to take that seriously. On the nationwide scale, we still need to take a science-based, targeted, and tiered approach and advance outbreak control based on the county level, and also take measures to restore socioeconomic order and to win this all-out people's war against the disease. Thank you.
Thank you from Bloomberg. Apologies for not standing. I have two questions. Why was it decided that the clinical diagnosis category for new infections was no longer needed for Hubei province? Does that mean that all new cases of infection in Hubei were confirmed using nucleic acid tests? And after removing the clinical diagnosis category, why did the number of new cases decrease so much from almost 1,700 on February 18th to 349 on February 19th? Thank you. And my second question is, what kind of progress are you having with trials of new treatment and drugs for the coronavirus? There was some initial success with Gilead's remdesivir. Is there any progress with that drug? And if there is, what might the next step be? Thank you very much.
请翻译一下。
彭博社记者提问，请允许我坐着提问。我有两个问题。第一个问题是，为什么湖北省决定不再需要公布临床诊断病例？这是否意味着所有的病人在湖北省只有在接受核酸检测之后才能够确诊？拿掉临床诊断病例之后，为什么当前公布的确诊病例下滑幅度如此之大，从18号的1700多人降低到19号的349人？我的第二个问题是关于新冠肺炎治疗方案和药物的审批情况的。目前有关药物的审批情况进展如何？对于瑞德西韦的研究，目前已经取得了初步的进展，还有没有更多的进展？如果有的话，下一步的工作将是什么？谢谢。
你这个问题比较多，要不分一下？一个，
我来回答第一个问题吧。
那后面两个问题是不是请这个徐部长陈局长来这个回应？好吧，要不郑总。
这个谢谢这位记者的问题。
Well, thank you for your question.
对这个疫情的诊断情况关心得非常
I can see that you have very specific knowledge about relevant information. Regarding your question, actually, I already invited a doctor from Peking University Hospital to give a very thorough elaboration on that. Let me ask you to refer to that answer.
谢谢你的提问。这个药物的研发问题。
Well, thank you for your question regarding the research and development of medicines. This is something that the general public and media are following very closely. Well, let me talk about this in two folds. First is some overall information. We know that medicine R&D usually takes a lot of time, but now things are different. Under current situations, we need to focus on security, effectiveness, and supplies. So, under this principle, we are also making selection from existing drugs that are already circulating on the market or are undergoing clinical trials. If they are proven to be effective, and have sufficient supplies, we can use them. But if they cannot follow the principle that I mentioned, we cannot be able to use them. There are 5 levels of operations that we need to go through for a drug to be used. First level is that our experts, based on their experience of antiviral experience and modern drug screening methods, to propose some drugs that may be effective for COVID-19. The second level would be vitro experiments. So we need to carry out antiviral vitro experiments to prove that whether the medicine can turn out to be effective. But that does not mean the medicine is effective. In the third level, we will carry out small-scale clinical studies on the medicines to examine the resistance of the drugs to the patients and its acceptance and treatment effects. And if that turns out to work, we will carry out large-scale clinical trials to test its effectiveness. And building on that basis, and also through relevant procedures, we will recommend the medicine to be included in the treatment protocol. So this is the procedure that we need to go through. There are 5 levels or 5 stages. Let me also share with you some information with you today regarding the latest developments. Yesterday, we already talked about the 3 drugs and 3 plans. So we have basically 3 drugs entering the treatment protocol, which can be used by doctors. First is traditional Chinese medicine. It was included in the 3rd edition of the protocol and then later on to the 4th, 5th, and 6th editions. There are over 60,000 cases which involved the use of TCM, accounting for 85%. And TCM treatment turned out to be effective. And the combination of Chinese and Western medicine also turned out to be very effective. So this is the first treatment plan. And second is chloroquine phosphate. It is an existing drug. It is being clinically trialed, involving 135 cases. I will not elaborate on the result, but one thing we need to note that is it has been effective in treating mild and regular cases. Over 130 cases, we have not discovered one single case of worsening. And second, it treated 5 severe cases. 4 have been discharged, and 1 has turned into a mild case. So this is a very effective treatment plan. We hope that it can prove its effectiveness at a larger scale. The third drug is convalescent plasma treatment. And it is applied to severely worsening cases, severe cases, and critical cases. Another drug is fapilavir. We had 80 trials in Shenzhen. It turned out to be effective, and now we are expanding the trial to prove its effectiveness on patients. And second is stem cell treatment. This is carried out at a small scale. 4 severe cases, patients have been treated in this way and have been discharged. And then there is remdesivir that the journalist mentioned. We carried out vitro experiment for this disease, this drug, at the earliest moment, and it turned out to be effective towards the virus. And we contacted relevant institutions, and now we know that there are 10 hospitals in Wuhan who have carried out relatively large-scale clinical trials. And for severe and critical cases, we have 200 cases using the drug, and 30 mild cases using that drug. And just like you, I'm also anxiously waiting for the results of the trials. And I do not know more than you do. But as the journalist mentioned, what if the drugs have proven effective? We have been in close contact with the relevant producers. I'm sure that putting the interests of the people first, we will work together better to find effective treatment solutions. Thank you. Well, thank you for your question. Well, let me touch upon the emergency approval of new drugs. Since the outbreak, the State Medical Product Administration has resolutely implemented the decision-makings of the central leadership and has carried out the extraordinary approval of new drugs. First, we launched the emergency approval mechanism in accordance with law and assembled a special expert team centering on academicians coming from various scientific disciplines, and have established the rule of early intervene approval for all cases and making approval in a science-based manner. Second, we have put a lot of efforts to formulate the technical guiding principles for the R&D of COVID-19 drugs and also the requirements for the safety and effectiveness. And we have worked with R&D institutions to increase the quality and speed of R&D. Third, we put safety and effectiveness first in the drug R&D. And at the same time, we also are developing new approval methods for those relatively ready drugs. We have carried out parallel approval, examination, and screening to ensure that the drugs can be used as quickly as possible for the treatment of COVID-19. Now we can see that a number of safe and effective chemical agents and TCM drugs have been included in the frontline treatment plans, including the wide-spectrum antiviral chemical medicines and Chinese patent medicines, as well as medical agents and traditional Chinese medicine remedies that have already turned out to be effective in clinical treatment. Also, ensuring safety bottom line, effectiveness, quality, and extraordinary approval, we have given emergency approval to 5 new drugs for clinical trials, and progress is well underway. For those who have already carried out R&D, including new drugs and generic drugs, for those that are used for COVID-19, as long as they are included in relevant research projects for COVID-19, we launched the preferential approval for those drugs and make exceptional arrangements to approve their circulation and for the employment of frontline medical workers on the basis of safety. The National Medical Product Administration also attached great importance to the development of vaccine. We assembled an expert team to advance the vaccine development project. In this extraordinary time, the approval team has carried out early intervention, giving guidance and make parallel progress together with the R&D for safe drugs and vaccines. We will spare no time in approving such safe and effective drugs for the treatment of COVID-19. Let me also stress here that we attach great importance to the quality management of clinical trials and to protect the rights and interests of the patients to ensure that the results are authentic and reliable. We have also directed all localities to carry out more stringent supervision on medicines and medical equipment and redress market malpractice in this regard and ensure safety and quality. In the next step, we will continue to closely follow the developments of the outbreak and the needs for the containment work and follow up on the progress of science and technology research projects to be well prepared for emergency approval and to contribute our part in winning this battle against the disease. Thank you.
Southern Metropolis. We heard experts say that the COVID-19 is a self-limited disease. Does that mean that mild patients can stay home and take drugs themselves? How should we look at the self-limited disease? The self-limited disease is an academic concept. It means that the human body will show symptoms of fever, running nose, and cough. These symptoms may go away without treatment and does not impose permanent damage to the human body or develop into chronic disease. Disease with such symptoms and such development are called self-limited disease. For patients with self-limited disease, they need to take more rest, drink water, and could recover in about a week's time. For self-limit diseases, they normally have 3 stages, namely incubation period, progression period, and convalescence period. In the incubation period, the virus enters the human body and replicates itself, but there are no clinical symptoms. In the progression stage, the immune system and the virus confront each other and enters a standoff. This will cause infectious symptoms such as pneumonia. In the convalescent stage, the immune system defeats the virus and the patient will recover. But that does not mean self-limited disease patients do not need treatment. For mild and regular cases, normally mild and regular cases take about 80% of all cases. These COVID-19 patients with good rest, good diet, and good mood will see their robust immunity enhanced. With that, they will get into convalescence sooner. Even for the severe and critical patients, with proper treatment and proper medication, such as oxygen inhaling, their immune system can also be enhanced and their progression period shortened. Normally, there will be no e-coli after the disease is recovered, so there's no need for panic. But for senior patients and those with underlying conditions, we will have to pay more attention, because for these people, ordinary cold may also threaten their lives. That's why people with weak immunity system suffering from COVID-19 will need extra care. They need to rest in bed as much as possible, keep from the cold weather, and have sufficient nutrition. Most importantly, they need a good mood and calm mind, because a calm mind is the best immune medication. With proper therapy, they can also be cured. What we must notice that because of the strong infection of this virus, we need to quarantine even the mild and regular patients to reduce the possibility of wider spread. Thank you.
Thank you. With Macau Daily. According to relevant reports, many medical institutions from China and abroad are carrying out vaccine development. So my question is, what is the latest progress of vaccine development in China?
Thank you for your interest in vaccine development. A vaccine is indeed one of the most effective means for epidemic prevention. As we all know, several of the epidemic diseases, such as smallpox, polio, and rabies, have all been eliminated or prevented because of vaccine. In 1979, we declared smallpox a thing of the past, and in 2000, we declared the victory against the polio. These are all due to vaccine development. But the development of new drug is like the development of the development vaccine is like development of new drug. It takes a long time, and it goes through a certain procedure. This was introduced partly by Vice Minister Xu and Deputy Commissioner Chen. In this process, first we need to identify the effective constructs for vaccine. For example, we need the suitable virus strain to be the candidate of the vaccine. Not all virus strains can be suitable. Or sometimes we need to find the key protein or genetic sequence in the virus. Then we move on to the establishment of manufacturing process and quality control, go through a host of experiments, including the evaluation of its effectiveness and safety on animal models, to gain sufficient data to support the application for clinical trial. So it is a relatively complex procedure. In addition, the novel coronavirus is a new virus. Our knowledge about it is still limited, and that's why there are still uncertainties in the process of development. China's vaccine development has made remarkable progress over the years, and we have high-caliber research teams. Thanks to the advantage of China's system, we are able to bring in researchers from various organizations to form top-notch research groups. They can leverage their respective strengths, work in concert with a keen sense of mission and responsibility. Under the prerequisite of respecting science and ensuring safety and effectiveness, they are able to minimize the research turnaround and make the vaccine available as soon as possible. Our progress so far is that we are working on 5 types of vaccines simultaneously. I'll direct you to this PPT slide. The left side is the virus, And the right side are the 5 types of vaccines we are trying to develop. The first one is the inactivated vaccine. That means we inactivate the virus strain and develop a vaccine on that basis. The second type is recombinant vaccine. That means we picked the S protein, which is the most probable antigen candidate in the virus. And then we will infuse it to the human body to generate an antigen. And the third type is the adenovirus. It's a transformed virus which is less infectious. It is used to express the S protein in the virus. The adenovirus will infect our respiratory system and stimulate the body to generate antigen. This is the third type. The fourth type is the mRNA-based and DNA-based vaccines. They are infusing the vaccine with the certain kind of mediation, such as the RNA or DNA. The antigen will be translated into part of the human immune system. It's also a kind of stimulation to the human body to generate immunity against the virus. The fifth type is a way to express antigen with an approved live attenuated influenza virus vaccine. That is to add a coronavirus protein on the existing influenza vaccine. This is a 2-valent vaccine. That means if we succeed on that, this vaccine can be used to prevent both influenza and COVID-19. In flu season, this is especially useful. So that's the 5 types of vaccines we are developing simultaneously. To date, some of these projects have entered animal testing stage. I can try to express this progress with a metaphor. If we liken the vaccine development into erecting a building, then we can say the foundation has been laid, and we can see the body of the building coming out of the ground. We are speeding up the building of this structure, and then we will enter the decoration stage. Our goal is to launch emergency procedure for the review, approval, and use of vaccines in accordance with law in light of the needs of epidemic control. Under the prerequisite of safety, effectiveness, and accessibility, our estimation is that some vaccines will be ready for clinical trial by April or May this year. Some may even be used in clinical treatment. Thank you. Science Daily. We're seeing orderly resumption of work and production in various sectors, including in rural areas. The spring season of planting is being restored. What recommendations do you have for people to prevent the spread of the disease?
Let me take this question now. All sectors are returning to work, and this is a question that we're following very closely. When we are returning to the office, to factories, and to the farmlands, how risky is it? And how can we protect ourselves? To answer this question, I need to share with you 2 information. First, how virus can find you, and second, how it invades into your body. According to every information that we get from the frontline workers, for example, droplets and aerosol, we need to stay alert against all scenarios. And we have simulated various scenarios to assess the risk of virus transmission. Let me give you an example. Regarding aerosol transmission, we have carried out a lot of experiments, and one of them involved a 30 square meter artificial simulation box in which we assessed the transmission of the virus on different types of experiment animals in different environments. Preliminary progress has shown that the most important transmission pathway of the virus is still respiratory droplets and close contact. And aerosol transmission only takes place in 3 conditions: enclosed area, long-term exposure to the virus, and high density of aerosol. And this is hardly a reality for most of us. So in workplaces, we have only one way to protect ourselves, that is to cut the pathway of virus transmission. For all workers, we have 2 suggestions. First is to ensure ventilation in crowd areas, and second, to stay appropriate distance from one another. The 2 measures are both very effective. Even when the virus has found us, we need to look at how it invades our bodies. It usually does this through our mouth, nose, and eyes. So we need to do a good job in the protection of such areas. For example, we can wear masks. This is a very effective way to cut the transmission pathway of viruses. For other possibilities of infection, for example, feces transmission, all research outcomes show that the virus cannot penetrate our skins. So if we have a good habit of frequent hand washing, it will ensure effective results of cutting off the transmission pathways. As the continued drop of new confirmed cases and suspected cases, and with better knowledge of the virus and better ways of treatment, we can be able to cut off the transmission of the virus. Thank you. Next question. Thank you. With Xinhua News Agency, we have taken note that in the 6th edition of the protocol, there has been a significant increase of TCM. Does that mean that from clinical progress, TCM's treatment is very effective? And can you share with us relevant statistics regarding the involvement of TCM? Thank you.
Traditional Chinese medicine, we shall say, is a great invention of the Chinese nation. The Chinese civilization has been able to sustain for 5,000 years, partly because of the TCM. I don't have to go too far to come up with an example of TCM's contribution. In 1950s, there were JEV outbreaks in Shijiazhuang and Beijing. The People's Republic of China was just founded. Our medical conditions were weak, and the treatment JEV was in itself a problem for the whole world, and there's a lack of effective treatment. Case fatality rate was as high as 50%. Traditional Chinese medicine took an active part in the treatment of patients, especially a famous doctor, Mr. Pu Fuzhou, which is from Sichuan. He was seconded from Sichuan to Beijing. Highly experienced TCM doctor, and he proposed a therapy in light with the climate conditions. He proposed a prescription based on Baihu decoction to treat JEV patients. It was quite effective thanks to the joint efforts of Chinese and Western medicine doctors, as well as people from other sectors. Thousands, tens of thousands of lives were saved. This was a very good example of how TCM can contribute to epidemic control. To treat COVID-19, a lot of TCM theories can also be borrowed. For example, TCM considers that a person will not be disturbed by pathogens if he possesses strong body resistance. Thereby, supporting the body resistance will often be a priority in prevention, even in case of being infected, which will assist eliminating pathogens and curing the illness. The principle of 3 factors is another. The 3 factors refer to the time, place, and person. TCM thinks that a person's pathological condition is associated with and affected by the season, geography, as well as his unique features, such as age, gender, body condition, environment, etc. This kind of treatment is also known as individualized treatment. In our treatment protocols this time, such principles are well reflected in the guidelines released so far, which recommend different prescriptions tailored to patients in different stages and with different symptoms, such as fever, running nose, and poor appetite. Even with the same prescription, we recommend different doses tailored to different scenarios. In the ongoing response efforts, TCM took an active part. The National Administration of Traditional Chinese Medicine and 630 TCM hospitals from 28 provinces sent nearly 3,200 health workers to support Hubei. And more than 2/3 of patients in Hubei were treated with TCM. We have also dispatched TCM doctors to collaborate with Western medicine doctors, improved the collaboration mechanisms and consultation system to deliver better therapeutic results. What I want to stress here is that TCM and Western medicine can reinforce each other and jointly protect the health of the people. This has become an important feature and advantage of the health cause with China's characteristics. In response to COVID-19, we must better combine Chinese and Western medicine, refine and implement the collaboration mechanisms, better leverage this advantage to win the battle against the people's war against the epidemic at an early date. Last question, please. With cover news, the Ministry of Science and Technology urged the patients who have recovered to donate their blood plasma. Has the plasma therapy been rolled out widely, and how is its therapeutic effect? Thank you for the question. You actually gave me an opportunity to express my admiration to the plasma donors. Till yesterday, we have more than 100 people recovered from the disease who have donated their plasma, which we can use to make about 240 doses of plasma. And that means we can treat and save the lives of 240 patients. You mentioned that at the last press conference, the Ministry of Science and Technology called for the thousands of recovered to donate plasma to save others. After
大家都知道
that press
我们
conference,
郑南山院士，我们金银潭医院的张典宇院长，
Professor Zhong Nanshan
临床一
and
线的专
Professor
家
Zhan of our
都
hospital
对
have all
会肺气血奖的治疗效果和它的安全性
introduced
进行
the
了
therapeutic effect
解释。
and safety
所以有关技术
of
细
the
节，
convalescent plasma
我就不多
therapy.
说。我这里
I'm not
登
going
你
to
的题目
detail
我举
here.
一个例子，就是
I'd
前面
like
我们
to
在武汉
give you
有
an
首
example.
批是11位
In
接
Wuhan,
受了抗肺气血
initially
奖
we
的治疗
had
其中
11
6位
patients
是
who
有
received
病
the
毒
plasma
血症的，
therapy.
在湿润
6 of them have
2-3天后
viremia, which means the viruses have entered their bloodstream.
就有所好转。
After plasma
那么
therapy,
同样我们在山西
viremia
在其他地方
disappeared in 2
也
to
有一些
3 days,
危重病人接受血奖，现在的情况
and the patients got
相当
better.
稳定，所以整体效果应该
Patients in other regions who
那么
have
你刚才
received
问
the
下一
therapy
步
have also
情况现在是
stabilized.
这样的，第一个血奖治疗
In response
是
to
近日第
its
5版治疗方案，
the
在第6版
application of this
进一步完
therapy,
善。那
it's
很
been
明确地
introduced in the
是
fifth
3种病
version,
人
and it will
可以
be
使
further
用
improved in the
一个
sixth
是病
version.
情快速发展，一个是重病
It can
重
be
症，一个
dedicated
是
to
危
those
重症。
quickly worsening patients,
实际上是
to severe patients,
主要是为
and
生命的
critical
抢救。
patients.
这是第一个。
This is mainly used for
有了这样一个治
life-saving
疗方案，实际上医生就可润。
cases.
第二个，我们承担项目的公司
And
现在
secondly,
已经组织了，昨天已
the
经组织
companies
了
in charge
20个
of
采奖的团队
producing the plasma
派出到11个
have
省
sent
份，也就抗
16
风病人比较
professional
多的
teams
20个采奖
to
团队，并且这个我们通过1个月的研究，在采奖
actually
这一
20
块
professional
实际上
teams
后
to
有一系列
11
的处理
provinces and
都是
cities.
达到标准化。20个采奖队
The
已经
process
分
has
布
been
到全国
standardized.
11个省份应该具备了
These
这样
20
一个
professional
全
teams have
国
arrived
重
in
点
the 11
公开的工作
provinces
条件。
to start
第三
collection
个
of
前几
convalescent
天
plasma.
卫健委办公厅专门发了一个文，要求各
Thirdly,
地
the
卫
National
生
Health
系统
Commission
要支持这件事。
released a
这就为我们
document
前面开
to
展工
urge
作
local
奠定了一个基础。
health commissions to
所以
support
从这
this
个
work.
步骤来看，
And that provides
应该是
institutional
具
guarantee
备
to
比较
this
大的范围内
therapy
应用抗腹肌血甲来救治我们的重症和危重病
to
人
ensure that
这样
convalescent
一个条
plasma
件外部条件。
is
那么
available
下一步
to
实
severe
际上就是
patients.
我们希望我们康复者
In the
伸出你
future,
的胳膊，
We hope
献出你的血奖。
those
献
who
出
have
你的
recovered
代
from the disease
我们也希望
can extend a helping hand
去快
and
速发
carry
展
on this relay
重
of
症
love.
和危重的病人，他在湿润血奖有一个知情同意权，希望他们要
And
考
then
虑这样一个治疗方案。
The severe
更重要
patients
的
need to
我们的医
sign
院
a consent to use plasma.
要按照我们的治疗方案的要求，
The
做一些
doctors
技术
in our
规划
hospitals need to follow
充分
the
地利用血奖
protocols
给我们的
to make
危重
full
病人
use of
进行
plasma
使用
therapy to
希望
save patients.
这个康复剂的血奖能够
We hope the convalescent plasma therapy
重症和危重病人多
can
一份生的希望。
provide hope to our severe and critical patients.
谢谢吴伟
Thank you.
老
That's
师
the end of the press conference. Thank you for coming.
That was a press conference held by State Council Information Office regarding the outbreak. According to the National Health Commission, the outbreak is under control now, and numbers of both confirmed cases and suspected cases are keeping falling, and at the same time recovered patients, the number of recovered patients are getting bigger and bigger. Another good news is that vaccines against this specific coronavirus is in research, and hopefully it can be applied to practical use in April or May. Of course, CGTN will keep you updated on all those developments. Stay with us. Staying with this outbreak, all the passengers on the virus-hit cruise liner Diamond Princess are expected to disembark in the next few hours. Passengers have been leaving the ship since Monday after a 2-week quarantine period ended. More than 600 people on board have been confirmed with the COVID-19 virus. With 3,700 passengers and crew, the Diamond Princess set off from Yokohama late last month. The ship called at several cities in Japan, China and Vietnam before being quarantined off the Japanese port due to the epidemic. South Korea has just reported 52 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in South Korea to 156. One person has been confirmed dead. The World Health Organization is in close communication with South Korea after a cluster of new cases was discovered in the central city of Daegu. Joseph Kim has the details.
Reported the first death of someone sick with the COVID-19. According to local reports, though, health authorities are still working to determine the exact cause of the patient's death. A 63-year-old man died of pneumonia Wednesday and had been bedridden for more than 20 years at a hospital. The area of the hospital, the southeastern part of the country, is where a majority of the infections in South Korea are being reported from. Health officials suggest one of the main reasons is because in that region called Daegu, there is a possibility that one of the patients is what they're calling a super spreader. This has raised alarm because the super spreader is part of a religious sect called Shincheonji and had attended services with about 1,000 other people. Daegu is now on high alert with reports that the area is seeing many in self-quarantine, and South Korea has also upgraded the virus alert level from yellow to orange and will begin to broaden and ramp up screening.
Joseph Kim there. China has vowed to restore social and economic normalcy as the country fights against this outbreak. Local authorities have taken measures to help businesses resume operation. And with that, we end this edition of The World Today on CGTN. I'm Pan Dong in Beijing. Bye for now.
This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Hello, welcome to The World Today on CGTN. Live from Beijing, I'm Pan Dong. We start with the latest on the COVID-19 outbreak. The total number of confirmed cases in China has surpassed 75,000. The death toll stands at over 2,200, while more than 18,000 have recovered. Hubei province has the most confirmed cases in the country, more than 62,000 so far, of which over 70% are in the provincial capital, Wuhan. where the outbreak was first found. Guangdong, Zhejiang and Henan provinces are the most affected areas outside Hubei, with each reporting more than 1,200 cases. Beijing has reported 396 and Shanghai 334. The virus has spread to 25 other countries, which altogether have reported over 1,100 cases. Japan is the worst hit country outside China, with 2 deaths and over 700 cases. Most of them have been aboard a quarantined cruise liner. China says experts are now accelerating research and development on vaccines against the COVID-19 virus. Officials said scientists are working on 5 different tracks simultaneously. Some groups have already reached the stage of testing on animals. Authorities say some vaccines may be ready for clinical trial by late April or May, with others to follow in the next several months. Of course, we'll keep you updated on that. China's ports and transport hubs are gradually recovering as authorities move to help businesses involved in foreign trade. In the eastern province of Shandong, this is first a Europe-Asia freight train set off from Yantai city, carrying 51 containers loaded with mechanical equipment and general merchandise to Russia. Zhejiang province's first international chartered flight took off from Hangzhou, carrying over 300,000 packages from e-commerce companies to be distributed to 6 European countries. The Chengdu Shuangliu International Airport in southwest China has lost 80% of its business due to the epidemic. In response to that, the airport's customs office has streamlined administrative procedures, reducing processing time from 4 days to less than 12 hours. And the tax department in Xiamen City in the east has issued exemptions to help businesses with tight cash flows. Some analysts say they expect the current losses to be short-term, saying they believe China's long-term status as the world's largest exporter is secure. South Korea has just reported 52 new confirmed cases of COVID-19, bringing the total number in that country to 156. One person has been confirmed dead. The World Health Organization is in close